Hello my darlings and welcome. Today I want to show you how to make a corn dolly for your altar or sacred space and to celebrate the harvest. Let's do some magical crafting. In this video I'm using corn husks to create a dolly. This is the material that I have readily available, and a corn husk doll is a bit more traditional to where I live. I encourage you to use whatever material is easy for you to obtain. Traditional European corn dollies are woven from wheat, barley, rye, or oat straw. I don't have the skill to weave something that intricate. However, I do intend to add a bit of dried wheat to my dolly. I have several stems left over from my wheat broom magical craft. I also used some of this wheat for a Lammas candle holder magical craft. So far, this single bundle of wheat has been amazingly useful. If you have fresh corn on the cob, you can shuck the ears and use fresh corn husks for this project. If you don't have fresh corn, you can purchase dried corn husks for wrapping tamales from the grocery store or online. If you opt for dried corn husks, your first task is to separate them and soak several husks in water until they become bendable and pliable. Keep a bowl of water nearby in case you need to re-wet your husks. You'll notice that each husk has a narrow end and a wide end. I'll refer to this throughout the video. Select one corn husk and ball up a small piece of scrap fabric to serve as the doll's head. Wrap the corn husk over the ball and make sure one side of the head is smooth. That means there'll be extra folds on the back of the head. Then secure it at the neck with a piece of twine, string, or yarn. The next step is to take two husks by the narrow ends and place your doll's head in between them, with the wide ends above the head and the narrow ends at the neck. Then take a piece of twine and tie the two husks and the neck together with the face covered. Then fold the two husks down to reveal the head. We'll put the doll aside as we work on the arms next. I cut one husk to the length I want my arms. We're using one husk for both arms, so the length should include the length of the two arms and the width of the shoulders. Then I cut the husks into 3 long strips. I tied one end together with a small bit of twine, and next I braided the 3 strips. I tied the other end together with a small bit of twine again, and then trimmed the twine ends and the ends of the braids to even them out. Now we'll return to working on the doll. Place the arm braid inside the body up by the neck, so each side sticks out evenly from the shoulders. Next, we're going to take another scrap of fabric, ball it up, and place it inside the chest area to create a bit more body to the doll. You can also use balled up paper or tinfoil or whatever you have to hand. You could even use balled up corn husk. Next, take 2 more husks and place them wide end up. Then take your dolly, holding the chest stuffing in place with 2 fingers, and place 1 husk behind and 1 husk in front of the doll, starting at where the waist will be and covering the head and chest. Then tie them in place tightly at the waist with twine, string, or yarn. Then fold down both pieces to create the front and back of the doll's skirt. At this point, we've created the most basic doll shape, and if you wanted to stop there, you can. But I wanted to add some extra details. This is where you can get creative and go as elaborate as you want. I cut 1 husk straight across on the narrow end and tied it at the waist to create the appearance of an apron. I trimmed the sides a little with scissors and shortened the length as well. I pulled out my watercolor paint to give her apron some harvest colors, starting with red and graduating to orange and gold. In hindsight, I might have chosen acrylic paint because the corn husks are not good at absorbing the water and tend to resist the paint. But eventually I got the colors to a brightness and opacity that I was happy with. Traditionally, the spirit of the grain lives in the fields with the crops. And so it is that once all the crops are brought in, she no longer has a home. And so we used the last sheaves that were reaped to make a corn dolly to embody and honor her spirit. I will keep her warm and safe in a place of honor in my home all winter. For the next portion of the project, I brought in a glue gun and glue sticks. I wanted to close up the side of my doll's skirt, so I placed a seam of glue down each side and connected the front and back husks. I repeated the same process with the sides of the chest where a little bit of fabric was peeking out. I used a little glue and pinched the sides together under the arms. The next step is to add some hair. I decided to use a wavy bit of corn husk to see if I could give her some long wavy hair. I had to re-wet my husk at this point because they were all drying out and becoming hard to bend and work with. Once it was pliable, I measured my hair length with some extra for bangs in the front. I trimmed the individual pieces of hair with my scissors, short cuts for the front and longer cuts for the back, leaving them attached in the middle. Then I glued the entire piece onto the back of the head and a little bit around the sides. The next step was to glue down the individual strands of hair in the front to create bangs. I also decided to take a third piece of balled up scrap fabric and tucked it inside the doll to make the skirt spread open and so the doll could stand up. Other materials you could use for your doll's hair is string or twine or wheat stems. I decided to decorate my doll with 3 wheat stems on her apron instead. I'm making this dolly to celebrate the second harvest, also known as Mabon. It's the time of year when the corn is harvested from the fields. And the word corn here comes from the same word as grain. Traditionally, the word corn refers to any grain crop in a given area. So depending on where you lived, corn could mean oats, barley, rye, or wheat. My personal tradition is to keep my corn dolly and reuse her each year as a symbol of fertility, harvest, and the divine feminine. However, a more traditional approach is to dispose of your dolly in the spring. She would be buried or tilled into the earth to infuse the new crop with her generous spirit of fertility. In Celtic tradition, the doll represents the female spirit of the divine Cailleach, which is Gaelic for witch, hag, or crone. She is the sacred ancient mother, and she's born anew each spring, matures with the season, and renews herself over and over again. An ancient practice is to burn the dolly to honor the death of summer and thank her for the harvest. However you decide to use your corn dolly, I hope this video has inspired you to make one and given you some ideas on how to decorate her.